Hello, 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 and welcome to this. This is me, Sam Sansalone, on a Wednesday night, as I always am, and for the last 6 years have been. Most of them have been videos, but I started doing more live in the last couple of years because I think that it's been helpful to, I think, a lot of people to kind of get more of a regular dialogue, especially in specific times of the year. And one of the year or the times of year that is most important is right now, or the window of time that we're entering right now. And I've been kind of doing some forecasting, some talking to people about, how to strategize in the wintertime, springtime. And if you have not talked with me before, like, you may not know that I help a lot of people that move to the area, people that move from other states and countries. So a lot of times I'm talking to people that are trying to strategize about how to make the best decision and how to make the best plan to move here, and then when to buy or what type of house to buy, that kind of thing. And so each season um, has different kind of key variables or certain things that make a certain type of a season more interesting or not interesting to buy a house in, or maybe more advantageous, because there are certain times of the year that are very advantageous. One of those being in the fall, late fall, early to midwinter time, because it's not as exciting to find a house at that point because it's cold, and the seasons and the holidays and all that stuff. But on top of that, not as many people list, right? Well, and it's like, well, Sam, it's April, so we're not in the best time, right? Well, okay. Well, it depends on what you're looking for, right? But I do know that a lot of times when people look for houses in the wintertime, they realize that there aren't many houses on the market. And a lot of times too, the sellers know the same thing. It's become like everybody knows what almost like a game theory. Like, we're going to list it when everybody else is going to be around. The people that are around are like, well, I'm going to wait until people list. Now, a lot of that is because of season dynamics. For example, moving out for the spring and summer because of school, because of maybe PCS season, because of jobs and all that, because of before summertime, because of trips and all the types of things. So it's a natural trigger to make the spring and summertime a very key time to find a house, especially in this area. But it's not necessarily the only time that houses get listed, but it's a pretty common one. And hey, Christy from Houston. Hey, awesome, Houston. I've never been to Houston. I have always wanted to go to Houston. I've heard it's extremely hot, and I don't know if that's. I mean, I prefer heat before cold, but I don't know how. I've heard Houston's pretty intense. So thank you for watching. And anybody, I like to drop on the little marquee on the thing below, where you're watching from. Let me know where you're watching from, because if you do plan to move here, I want to be able to give more specific information, maybe to maybe help you from wherever you're coming from. Even as we're talking right now, I can give some more in specific details. I'd love to just hear where people are coming from, where people are watching from. And so, anyway, going back to what I was talking about with the market, springtime and summertime are the two key windows to find a house when it comes to selection, because more and more people list in the spring and summertime. Now, some would say, well, you can look in the past records of any neighborhood and say, well, I didn't see a whole lot of houses list that I like in the spring and summertime, Sam. So what does that mean? Well, there's another thing too, is this is why I don't really mind looking for houses in other times of the year too, is a lot of times you'll find that it's not always just the specific house or neighborhood as it is the house. A lot of times people will often I've found that the best houses in a neighborhood, or best houses in a city, often get more or less listed in the spring, summertime. And I think that's because people that think to themselves, I can get top dollar for this house. What's the best time to find that top dollar? And that top dollar, it can often be found in the spring and summertime, and that's that perception. So the spring and summertime kind of brings a lot of different things, but one of the things is it really, I think the cream of the crop houses come up in the spring, summertime. And then at the same time, as you enter into whatever season you're entering into, whether it be spring, summertime, usually that means that the prices are going to increase, right? And there's always a lag, usually in the late summer into the fall and the wintertime. But if you're going to buy in the spring, you're going to pay for the spring. And there's no way around that. That's why it's not ideal to move in December or January. There aren't as many houses on the market, and it gets frustrating. But if you're waiting, Now we're opening the door to the time when the most houses get listed. And I'm going to show you an example on the charts to give you kind of a visual. And I've shown this before, but I think this is a very important key metric. And the new data for April is going to be coming out soon. So this is not late, but you're going to start seeing trends. So active listings. You see in the last, let's go here. The last, 1920, that time period, as listings dropped, we started forming a new normal. And then that normal really was cyclical to what the historical trends were, which is the amount of listings increases until about June, July, and then drops down and then goes up until June, July. And this was October into 2023. It goes down into the winter months. And then March, April bounces back up again. And then 2025, the same thing. So you notice that in February, the number of houses, and this is in Virginia Beach, active listings in Virginia Beach in February was 366. Well, here we go. Boom, 423. Now it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's like almost 20%. That's like what, 17, 18% bump in the first month. So you can rest assured that this is increasing as well. This is going to keep increasing until we get into June, July, August, somewhere in there. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I got some kind of, I think it's the pollen. Side note, man, the pollen, I used to not be all bothered by it, but the last couple of years, I'm really getting hit and I don't know what's going on there. But if you're moving to the area, man, get ready. I mean, not just to your own health, but and the cars get full and all that. Now, that's one thing. You notice that increase is going to happen. So if you've been waiting, this is the time that you've been waiting for to find a house in the springtime. Now, if you go over to, where is it? Oops, excuse me. Where is month supply of inventory? Well, we're still low. So 1.8 months of inventory, which that means that there aren't a lot of houses on the market. And I'd say traditional past historical was back in 15, 16, 17. You'd find it range from 4 to 6, 4 to 7. There you go, right there. But now, or 1 to 2 is about our range right now. And that's going to start dropping down because the demand increases as you go into the spring and summertime. And so it means less houses. Even though there are more listings, there will be less, the inventory will stay low, and that will mean demand is increasing. And so that's why it's like, well, you start comparing the local market to the national market or the national news. There are news stories, of course. You've got all the stuff about tariffs and all even the geopolitical stuff going on that, to be honest with you, I try to follow, or meaning keep track of, but I gotta, there's a certain level to where like I try and incorporate as much as I can, but there's things that, I've not seen this before. I think most people here haven't either. And I think to say that you would know what's going to happen because of those types of dynamics, I think is, I don't know if I'd say insincere, but it's hard to know. Right. So you got all these different things, but it's the easiest thing to see is the national, either news or market, because that's where, most of the news broadcast, how they broadcast their information is based on a national level. Right. And that's where questions come up. It's like, well, as you've been waiting for the last month, 2 months, 3 months, it's like, all right, well, should I even buy a house? Because it's like, let's say, for example, you were waiting for, let's stop this off. You can look at me better if you care. I don't know. Maybe you don't. Hey, Bill. Things are moving. What I was watching is now pending. Yep, that's right. Hey, Bill. Good to see you here. So let's just pretend you were looking in the early part of February, and you're like, man, I can't find anything in February, and possibly right. And this is not just Virginia Beach. This is Chesapeake. This is Norfolk. This is Hampton, Newport News, Williamsburg. This is not specific to a city. I'm using Virginia Beach as an example because it's the most widely recognized city. But February comes. You're like, man, okay, I need to find a house by May, June. So if the right house comes, I'll get it. If not, I'll wait. And you're looking every day for a week, 2 weeks. You're in the middle of February, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And you're like, man, can't see anything. Like maybe I see a couple, 2 or 3, but it's like, Is it better to just wait a little bit? Okay, now you're in March and you start seeing a bit of a pickup, but just not seeing enough. Well, then you're like, we're in April. And then the question is, uh, you're waiting for the big bump in listings. And unless you're looking for a specific area, you might not have seen it because it's happening. It is happening, believe it or not. There are more houses that have been listed to me in the last week and week and a half than there had been in the last 2-3 weeks before that. It's happening, but it's not as easily visible because of the amount of houses that are still like relatively on the market. You're not seeing a specific area that's getting a bunch of houses because it just doesn't feel that drastic. So now you're walking into April and you're like, man, what do I do? Should I rent? Should I almost like not panic, but like it almost feels like panic sets in. Like, man, April as easily becomes May and then becomes June. Then what do I do? So all that stuff, you got national news combining with all that. You've got, okay, what happens with the economy? What about my 401k? Well, all these types of questions. And as time goes on, as you wait for the right house, more information comes in you start thinking about. And it's very easy to be caught into an emotional swing in any one direction, whether it is, number one, not buy for the wrong reasons, which that is true, or buy for the wrong reasons. For example, buy too fast because I just want to get this over with. Now you can buy quickly, but man, don't just do it to do it, that kind of a thing. There's a balance in all this stuff, right? And so what I'm trying to tell people is we're entering into this market. We're entering into the spring market. We're seeing it how I'm seeing strong offers lose. And I'll tell you about that in a second, like what's really happening right now. But we are just starting the spring market. And so if you're not seeing the house that you're looking for just yet, if you are comfortable buying, like the national economy is different from the local economy, and I'll bring up that in a second too. But if you're comfortable buying, we've got some time. It's April. It's early April. It's what? It's the 2nd of April. And again, I'm not saying it's like, hey man, the calendar quickly goes to May and June real fast. I understand that. What I would say though is a lot of people do move in May and June, July, maybe say in June, and we've still got a lot of time between then and now in June for the amount of houses that will be coming in the market. This is that window, right? So all that to say is don't panic. I think it gets very easy to want to make a quick decision when you've been waiting for so long, when it's like, okay, you set a goal to, okay, now is the time that things start moving. And then it's like, well, things should be moving, but I'm not getting what I want. Okay, fine. This isn't working. Let's go. It's very easy to do that as you've been waiting for a long time, whether it be February, March, whatever, And so be patient. Be very patient. That's number one. Be very patient right now, knowing that at the same time as you're patient, you are quick. Patient and quick combined is the perfect balance, perfect blend. Hey, Trey, thanks for the live chat. Relocating for the military in spring of next year. Great. Are most active military active duty still buying with the high prices, then reselling when PCSing? Great question. Can I, Destin, Florida? Okay, awesome. Jeremy, hey, Jeremy, good to see you too. And can I answer that question as I finish my thought here? Because it's kind of a layered thought. And let me go back to my thing. So that's one thing. The patience plus the act quickly, those two combined are huge, right? And you don't want to lose one or the other. Patience without ready to act means you're not finding a house but in June. And ready to act without patience can easily become urgency, which means panic, which means getting the wrong house. So you find those two things out, balance those things out, and you're usually good to go, knowing that you're walking into the season. Okay, so now we've got into the national market compared to the local market. Okay, national market questions. What's going to happen for longer term? All right, that's real. I don't know, and what I do know though is local market. It's tell me where the houses are, and I'm saying that in context. So like, well, Sam, this is the best time to get the house, right? Well, you're saying tell me where the houses are. Talking about both sides of your mouth. Well, it's all relative, right? Because we're going into the best time or the most active time, but relative to a time when you've got more buyers than sellers, it's not. We are still in a very strong seller's market. And I'm If you wait too long, you can easily price yourself out of what you want. And illustrated by even the last few weeks. I mean, gosh, certain examples of houses in the 4s, 5s, 6s, 3s, 7s, whatever, 9, whatever. Houses that I didn't even think would sell over $1 million are now selling, at the prices that I didn't expect. Because of the scarcity, people are making decisions that help themselves. But a lot of times when you find houses, there aren't enough houses to go around. The local market is going to generate a reaction that the national market can't really influence as much of. Now it can; those two things still interact; those correlate. They affect each other. But when it comes to the local market, unless there's something drastic that happens in the national market that then trickles to the local, there is the supply demand curve is off, and it's still off, and it might still be off for a little while, and I'm a little bit concerned for people that are, trying to buy like in the 300 range, for example, 275, 325, that lower price range, or can't afford more than 400. The threshold of the 400, look, the threshold of 300 was back in 2020. You can get a lot of houses in 2019 for 325, nice houses, 300, that new just got to get in there threshold is now 400. And now 400 is becoming, I mean, it's slipping. It's slipping. I'm seeing that threshold kind of push. And Wild Stallion, hey, hi. What question? What is being built in town center? Ooh, good question. Ooh, I did a video about part of that, and we're all inferring on what we think the right answer is. We know what the right answer is based on some cookie crumbs that we know. I'll tell you about that in a second. I'm not trying to string you along, but just for my thought process perspective. Hey, Sam, Pittsburgh. Oh man, Steel City. I got a lot of friends from Pittsburgh. So many people relocate from Pittsburgh here, Pennsylvania, especially Ohio. Like you guys love it down here. Bring it on. Anyway, so you got the national market, the reaction to that. But you have the local market. There just aren't enough houses, and the $400,000 threshold is becoming not obsolete, but there's some great neighborhoods in Virginia Beach. Windsor Woods, I love Windsor Woods. That is now that was a very under 400 house neighborhood that I just loved. Now 425, 435. I'm seeing them over that, which is, it's telling you something, right? I don't want to say the days of a solid house at 350 or no more, but man, that range is really starting to get pushed up. And so it could be a matter of months where you're like, I really now can only afford a house with one less room in it. I mean, that kind of thing. And that's a real conversation. Those are real life circumstances. So this is what I have been telling people if you're going to buy, right? Because you're like, hey, I don't know national stuff. I don't know what to do. Local stuff. What do I do? All right. You got the Doge stuff. You got the DOD questions. People are they getting laid off, and that's potentially trickle down effects here. I've not seen it as much here, but you'd find it more in the 800 to $1 million plus range for that type of stuff, because you get a lot of contractors in that price range that who knows if they're going to still get paid. But that really has not been a factor here to me. But if you're going to be buying, it is okay to not buy number one. Like that's number one. But if you are going to, I was just looking at some prices in the last 2-3 years. I'm just looking back at past houses that I was helping people get, and back in 2021 when the market was kind of the first year of what is going on. Houses that were 500, 525 were going up to 570, 580, that kind of a thing. And it just seemed unheard of. $100,000 over asking price in some case, that type of stuff. And if you look back at those prices now, you would gladly have paid $100,000 over that asking price, right? Because those 500 houses that were listed in 2021 are now 7 or 675 or whatever. It happened quick. You blink, and now all of a sudden, not just the pricing, but of course the affordability, and it's still going up because there are people that are still buying. The relocation, the balancing still happening. So what am I even saying? What are you talking about? Why are you saying all these things? It's okay to be aggressive too. So if you're gonna buy, be aggressive. And because there's two things that can happen. Number one is if you're not aggressive, you either get the house you don't want, or maybe you get the house that you do want, which that can happen too. You can get the house you want and it works out. That can happen. A lot of times, if you want a house, good chance someone else does, most often. And so if you're not aggressive, you don't get the house. And if you're not aggressive for a month, you don't get the house. And then what happens after those houses that you missed out on close? Those become the new comps. Now they're going to let's just see if you can get an extra 15 out of it. The numbers keep going up. And then you find yourself in 3 months down the road, not wanting to go after the right house, not because you couldn't find the right house, but because you were afraid. I'm not trying to scare people, but hey, you were apprehensive. That's the nicest word, right? To say apprehensive of being aggressive because it felt reckless, which I understand. I understand that it doesn't feel financially sound to pay more than what you would think you should. I don't want to pay over asking price. Okay. By the way, an asking price, a number is based on two different people involved, the agent and the seller, nothing else. I mean, relatively speaking. So when someone doesn't want to pay over asking price, they're just don't want to pay over what the other people are listing it for. That doesn't mean that the house is necessarily valued at that. But all I have to say is being aggressive, this is the time to do that. And people that were aggressive last year, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that, paid off, right? Okay. Well, then it's well, Sam, the market can change. It totally can. I was around in 2008, and it did change. It can happen. Now, will it happen again like that? I don't know. But obviously, that was a very unique time. It can happen. That was also, now, goodness, almost 20 years ago. But to me, so it's hey, if you're more worried about short-term stuff, hey, if you're going to move in a year, maybe you shouldn't buy. And that's okay. If you do, I think there's still a legitimate chance that in a year or two, you're going to find yourself again. It's if the days of market on the market currently stay where it's at. I'm sorry, days of market inventory numbers stay where they're at, in that low 1 or 2 month range. I don't see prices dropping. It's just I don't see them dropping. There aren't enough houses, people. So being aggressive is what I would say is important. Now, what does that even mean? It can mean a lot of different things. Let me go back to the comments and, KS. Hey, KS. My dad owns in Windsor Woods. Love the neighborhood. Yep. Love it. One of the most, I think, underrated neighborhoods in Virginia Beach. I think it's great. You can walk. There's a little cut through to Mount Trashmore, especially if you're on Windsor Oak side. Cool. Awesome. Plan my new move now. Very cool. Very fun. And sorry, I need to go back. Let me know if I can help you or talk through some stuff with you. But I'll give my contact information later. So if you got a house that you love and it's $475, okay, well, it might go for $515. Could go for $485. Could go for a lot of different things. But if you're in your mind thinking, gosh, I don't know if I should do this, that's why it's important to talk to someone who knows what they're talking about. Get a real estate agent that knows what they're talking about. That's important because someone that knows how to make good offers, knows how to be aggressive without giving away the farm, all that stuff is important because you can then feel comfortable being aggressive and not feeling like you're being reckless at the same time. There are different ways to do that. But man, people that are looking at, 525, 5 months ago, that house is now 550, 560. And you're just okay, now I got to cycle through again. I'm helping someone now that's buying in the mid 5 range, and they're holding out. They got a house now, but the house that they got now would have been probably $30,000 more current as it was when they got the house under contract. And thank goodness we got it then, But being aggressive is important. And it always feels like the number that you're going after, the number you're paying for, more over asking price for, feels more than it ever will be valued at. Ask people bought in 2021 how that felt. it felt nuts. People probably, a lot of people questioning the validity of that. And eventually it will slow down to some degree. I thought it was going to last year. I was wrong. I thought it was going to this year. I was wrong. Just because I thought it would slow. I didn't think it would turn around, but I thought it would slow. And it is. It's not like 2021, but man, it is still not the way it was. So just be prepared for competition and be ready. Don't be afraid to be aggressive. Now, I mentioned all that to say is it's not like it was in 2021. So when I say every house has had 10 offers or 6 offers in 21, that's not the way it is now. But you're still competing. And it's the same types of stuff that gets a house now as what got a house then. It's just maybe tweaked a bit. But do not be hesitant if it's the right house. Now, if you find the right house, remember, why are you buying? Number one, if you're buying to resell. So what you mentioned, who was it, Trey? You talked about are people buying and then reselling when PCSing. That's been the overall trend. I think it's always been the trend for the most part, and I have not seen it slow down in any regard to a certain degree. But I have also talked to more people in the last probably year that have bought with the intention of keeping it to rent. And I am a big fan of that strategy because one thing I'm trying to talk to Grok today, or looked into X's AI, asking about this rent over the last 20 years, just the average rent in Virginia Beach, just using this as an example. And sure, what do you know? The average rent increased in the last 20 years. I think every year, not a ton, but increased. Or there was one year I think where it dropped like 0.25%, but it has steadily gone up in the last 4 or 5 years. It really shot up in the last 20 years ago. It did shoot up too. But my point is, it is steadily increased. So all I have to say is that while you might be thinking, hey, what about the resale market? Okay. At this point, it seems pretty strong, and it has no signs to a certain degree of slowing down drastically, right? If you're buying to hold, I mean, rent could slow down, but man, rent matches inflation quite a bit, or it's ranging in that inflationary dynamic quite a bit. And part of that's just because, inflation is not, one thing I was getting frustrating is inflation. Once inflation reduces, it doesn't mean that prices are dropping. It means that they go up slower. And that's kind of the way, rent, values of houses can often fluctuate faster than the rent for those houses often do. And so if you're buying a house to rent, it's easier to expect what the rent might be in the next 2 or 3 years, as opposed to, or 4 or 5 years or 10 years, as opposed to maybe what the house prices might be. So if you can get the house, again, especially if you refinance later and get the lower rate, if that does happen, which personally I'm not sure about that. Color me skeptical, but that could happen. You'll find yourself in a pretty good, what do you call it? Cash situation or financial situation, in my opinion. But I'm not one to buy with the expectation to refinance, because I think that people think they know more than they actually do. And that includes me. That includes me. So I think the market changes too much too quickly, or rates, for example, change too much too quickly to make any assumptions over a longer 6-month, year term. But man, every time I hear someone say this is going to happen in 3 months, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, But I just don't like to plan on that. So get the house you want. Treat the rate that you have as the one that you might have for a long time. But if the rent is worth it for you over the long term, man, I'm a huge fan of keeping houses. I think it's great. So it's not for everybody though. So anyway, all I have to say is we are now in the time. Be ready to be aggressive. And if you feel anxious, I understand, and I think that's real, but do your best to suspend that in balance with the patience that it might take to get the right house in this window of time between April and June, or May, end of May, whatever. Now that can easily change, because if you're going to be moving in the middle of June, for example, you need to you need to find a house by the middle of May, but that does not mean find a house on May 15th. That means, once you start getting into the end of April, you better start really making some decisions. So that decision process can shift fast. Don't wait till the last minute, but you still got some time is what I'm saying here. So back to my question about, my thing about offers. There was a scenario just a few weeks ago, a house I was working with, helping a buyer get a house. We got it, 17 offers, and it went over 100,000 over asking price. That still happens. Now, at the same time, just know that when you hear those stories, they can be very contextual. So please do not take that and say, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" I think there's a bunch of things happening with that. You can have an underpriced starting point, and the market knows it. And so then you can just offer a lot, and you're offering a lot more, but you're offering a lot more relative to an underpriced starting point, which is back to my point is, do not just use the asking price as your basis to make decisions, because that's how you can get stomped by a house that was priced too low to begin with. That's why having someone that knows what they're talking about is helpful. Again, I think I know what I'm talking about to a certain degree, but a lot of people do. So this is not just like I'm talking, but hey, there are a lot of people some great people out there that know what they're talking about. Just get someone that you trust. Anyways, so that over asking price stuff is going to happen a lot. But there are some times where it's like, hey, you got a 2 offer house, 3 offer house, right? Maybe its house has been even sitting for a week. Oh man, those are the best ones. So great example recently. There was a house that has been sitting for like a week and a half, which that can still happen. Week and a half, you price it too high, you got to chase it down a little bit. And it's been sitting for about a week and a half. And then all of a sudden, like day 13, 2 offers come on it. So that can happen because once you have one person that sees a house and wants it, then another person sees it and like, oh my gosh, okay, this is an active market. This house is pretty good. I want it. Oh, got 2 offers. 2 becomes 3 real quickly. Boom, boom, boom. You got the thing that you thought would have happened 2 weeks ago. That happens in the second week. It can happen a lot. So my point is that just because a house has been sitting for a while, don't sleep on it if you like it. Act quickly. So it's the combination: patience, ready to act. Whatever the one word is for ready to act. Ready to act. What's the word? If someone knows the definition of ready to act, the one word, please put it in the comments. Thank you. So I'm not one to avoid trying to get a good deal. I love getting good deals, but again, just hold it all in context. Be ready, try and get a good deal, but don't try and go too hard in the paint trying to get a best deal to where you didn't lose the offer because people will use that offer you made that's low, or that you try and slide in there and get it cheap. They'll use that as leverage all day long. And all of a sudden, boom, you just lost the house that you could have gotten if you just offered a reasonable amount, So this is more stream of consciousness right now. I apologize. I just love talking about this kind of stuff. So, but man, be ready and be aggressive. So that leads me to Windsor Woods, Windsor Oaks, Pecan Gardens. Yeah, very central. Yep, and easy to get to. It's great. I will answer your question about town center here in a second, but this is an important time to have the amount of money you have ready for buying a house. Like, know how much you got to work with, closing costs, agent fees in a lot of cases, appraisal guarantees, earnest money, inspections, all that stuff. Make sure you know the amount you're working with, because the last thing you want to do is when you're ready to act with that, whatever that word I'm looking for that I can't remember is, or even if there isn't even a word for that, is you don't want to be scrambling at the last minute. In addition to, get your loan situation set up. Please talk to a local lender. It does not have to be a specific one. You can talk to a national lender, but man, there are so many times I've seen offers get rejected. Part of it can be because of lender choice. It factors into it because the seller's choosing to dance with whatever buyer and lender that you're working with. Because if they can't close the loan on time, if they're not qualifying the people in the appropriate ways, they're waiting for 2-3 weeks to ask for information, it can really throw the whole thing off and affect you and affect the seller. And that's a big deal. And so they care about that. So factor all that stuff in. Get all your ducks in order early or now, because when it comes to be Friday or Thursday at like 4:30, you see the house that you like hit the market. Okay, now the focus goes on the house. Oh my gosh, I love this house. How do we get the house? All right. Well, one of the reasons or one of the things to do is get that money in order so what you know what your sandbox is that you're working with. How much do I have to work with for this specific house? So, anyways, all to say is don't panic, but be ready. All right. Good. um, Last thing I'll mention about the market, current market, before I answer a couple questions is um, I'm seeing some houses that are like in the 450 range, 475 range, go 10, 20 over. I've seen some bump over over that, and it not be a thing. So um, be real prepared to be a bit more aggressive than you probably thought you should be for a really nice house. And you'll know when it's a really nice house. I mean, I've seen several in the last few days that's like, oh, that's getting 6 or 7, right? You know what I mean? You know, but if it doesn't, okay, maybe you can slide in there day 4 or 5, but just be careful and talk to your real estate agent about all that stuff. But 2, 3, 4% over asking does not surprise me at all, if not more, and don't use a specific example like the story I just told you as a reason to do something specific for a house. This is all house specific stuff. So another last thing is, if it were me, I would be buying with the idea of holding. This is definitely a time to do that. I believe if rent goes up, this could be a tough time for renting too. And so, or it's expensive time. And so I'm a buy and hold kind of a guy. So that definitely I'm all about if you can find a house that you like, you want to hold it, go for it. And that's part of why I'm like, hey, sometimes cheaper is better because the numbers work better if you're going to do that kind of a thing. But if you're going to buy the house and live in it for a long time, different story. Get the house that you want, whatever. Anyway. Okay, stream of consciousness over, and I will continue to answer some of your questions. Question: what is being built at Town Center? There are a couple of construction projects going on, I noticed. Yes, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Well, no, it's not. I like talking about it, though. It is, rumor has it, according to the news and a lot of people, including myself, Trader Joe's is most likely going to be going to, I say most likely, allegedly. I don't know how the rules work with making bold statements, but allegedly that will be a Trader Joe's next to the Regal Cinemas in Pembroke. And if you don't know where I'm talking about, if you're like, hey, where is the Trader Joe's? Why is there Trader Joe's coming up? I will show you where the Trader Joe's is going to be. I think is going to be, allegedly is going to be. Let's do the thing. I will eventually learn how to do this faster. It's been forever. Okay. So zooming out, here is the south side. This is the peninsula. Trader Joe's is one in Newport News. There is one at Hilltop way over here, right here. There it is. Now, where is the next one going to be? Maybe it's going to be over Norfolk. Nope. Over in Portsmouth. Nope. Chesapeake. Nope. Town Center. Zoom. It's most likely going to be, see the Regal Columbus right there? The Regal's there. This box right here, Spirit Halloween, temporarily closed. It's done. This should say Bed Bath & Beyond, which it does. Store closing. Yes, because if you look at it right now, if I had to make some B-roll, I drove past this today. It is all, the face is gone. This all is gone. So the building's still there, but the structure is you can't see what it is. It's all like metal and all that stuff. So that is in the Barnes & Noble. It's in the Cava Shopping Center right next to Town Center. And I'm kind of excited about it. I honestly don't know. My wife even mentioned this too. I don't know why they put it there. It's very close to Hilltop. So I don't know. Not sure what the deal is with that. But that's number one. Number two is they've got a new senior center. Like Pembroke is going through a bunch of changes. There's a senior center being built over there. You got some storefronts that are still happening there. And in front of there is a new restaurant. If you're watching, well, there's someone I know that is relocating and working at there's a new restaurant that is a Brazilian steakhouse that's coming. I can't remember the name of it. That's in the front where there's a Romano's. Is it Romano's? Romano's Grill. I can't remember the name of the restaurant that is in Pembroke, or that was in Pembroke. But here, I'll show you. There it is. So there's Pembroke Square, Bath and Body Works. Is it the old Smoky Bones? No. It's this one. This is the Macaroni Grill, I think. Let's see if it's the Macaroni Grill. Hello. Yep, Romano's Macaroni Grill. This is a new. There you go. There you go. Fogo de Chao. I've heard it's very good. There are different locations in different parts of the country. Heard it's very good. So I'm excited about that. It looks much better now than it even did then. It's happening pretty soon. So that's cool. So a lot happening in town center. It needed to happen. Like the town center itself is great, but Pembroke, it's time. What are we even doing? I grew up around Pembroke, or a lot of my best friend in middle school lived near Pembroke. I remember going to this flea market. It's a bunch of like little small weird office buildings. It needed to go. Anyways, what else? Oh, moving to the area in January 26th. I cannot believe that is only 8 months away from South Florida. Cool. Awesome. Or maybe it's 9 months away. South Florida, Miami, maybe? My South Dakota house. Wow, okay. Or San Diego house. Probably San Diego, right? South Dakota. I don't know. Tell me which one it is. It's currently rented till November 1st. I'm unsure if I'll sell or use secondary VA entitlement to buy. Yeah, I guess it depends on how much entitlement you have. But man, it's definitely tempting for me to rent that thing out, You're welcome, Trey. Yeah, you're very welcome. And yeah, so that's, if you got any more questions, let me know, but I'll drop my contact info here. So if you do have questions, you want to text me, call me, email me, that's my phone number there, and I'll bring that back. I need a little bit of a thing that shows all of it at the same time. That was taking me forever to think about that. Wow, what an idea, Sam. Same at samsandsalon.com is my email address. That is really hard to spell or hard to type out, but once you get it, it's just boom, boom, boom over and over again. And www.samsandsalon.com. Shocker, my name again. So not too many Sam Sand salons out there. There's one in Canada, by the way. I think there's 2 of us in the world, and I think we fight over all the the emails. And I think he got the Google one. I couldn't get Google. Sam Sand Salon at Gmail. I couldn't get that. Anyways, hey Sam. Hey, hi Letty. Can you touch on some advice when you need to sell your current house in order to have funds for new purchase? For example, will sellers take a contingency contract in Virginia Beach? ? Why did I say that? Yes. The answer is yes. It's hard though. It depends on the house. There's a lot of variables. I have had success doing it. It is not always successful. The reality is you have to pay more usually, or do something to get them to say yes, right? Your offer, I'm just saying you in this case, because it's you talking to you, Letty, but anybody in this situation, this is helpful to know. If you are making an offer that is contingent on you selling your house, and you have an offer comparing with yourself with 4 other people or 2 other people or whatever that have a offer that does not have contingency to sell a house, what would you do if you're the seller? You're like, all right, I'll take one of the ones where I don't have to worry about the sale, right? Because the market's different enough now from 2-3 years ago to where a house sale it can be solid, but depending on what part of the country it is, it's not necessarily an automatic slam dunk. So they're like, hey, I'm not willing to risk it, right? Well, depends on if you're selling it here. It can often help too. But anyway, point is, they'll take the one that's not contingent if all other things are the same, right? But the reality is, it's really ever always the same. But that's another point here, is that one thing that I think people forget is that price, because people ask, well, how much did this house go for? How much, should I offer? The price is one big piece, but man, it is one of many pieces of an offer. Sometimes the best offer is not the highest price. So you could offer, if let's just say a house is $500,000 and you're offering 505 on this house. I'm just making numbers easy here. Offer 505 because, okay, contingent. Well, you might have the best offer compared to someone else that offered 500, but if yours is contingent to sell and the 500 offer is not, you may not have offered enough more. That's the question. And there are a lot of variables involved there. So my point, I guess, is to say that you might be making an offer that feels stronger than you should be making it for. And partly it's going to be based on house. Houses that have been sitting for a while, not as big of a deal. That's one thing. But on the flip side is, if it's been a house that's been sitting for less than 3, 5, 7 days, 10 days, or even 3 to 5 days for specifically, especially the first week, it can be more complicated because maybe a seller is not willing to wait for the whole closing contingency, or they're like, well, let's just wait and see if we can get an offer that's not contingent. So they're not as desperate yet, right? I say every week that goes by, that can change a little bit, but some of the best houses that sell fastest are the ones that have the most offers at the very beginning. Having that contingency is hard. I would say be ready to offer in as creative a way as possible. That includes stuff like appraisal guarantees being stronger than you would want. That means giving them other things that maybe they're looking for, closing dates being maybe preferring to them. You might have to rent somewhere for a short term, which is obviously more money. But the reality too is that if you're paying, I'm just making this up, I'm not saying this is the case every time, but let's just say you're paying 10 grand more than you thought you should have. Well, if you're paying 3 a month or 4 a month for a rental that you don't want, you might pay 10 to lock it down. But let's just say you didn't get that house accepted and you had to wait an extra month. Okay, well now you've paid 3. Now the difference between what you could have gotten the house for and your 3,000 now is 7,000. 1 extra month now is 4,000. And now it's like, should I have just gotten the house that I loved and felt like I paid more, but I really didn't pay that much more and got the house I wanted? That margin of aggression starts really narrowing fast. And you're like, I should have just been aggressive. So be comfortable with being aggressive, is my opinion there. And I understand it sounds aggressive. I guess it is. And let's see, what else? Selling current house. Another thing would be try as best you can to, if you get a house that you love and it's early in your contingency process or your house sale process, it is what it is. You can only do so much, but you're going to be probably paying even more to encourage someone to say yes to your offer if you're early in your personal house sale process. The longer you go into that process, the closer you get to closing, the more inspection or contingencies that you get past those milestones, the closer you get to closing, which means the more confident the seller will be to take your offer. So it means maybe less aggressiveness has to be made, right? So all that factors in. So I hope I'm helping you. And if you have more questions about that, I can, I have my contact info. I can, talk to you about that, answer questions that you might have. But there's a lot of variables. It's layered, but the key is being aggressive and be willing to rent somewhere if it means to encourage hey, I'll let the seller stay in the house for an extra month. It's going to lead to other frustrating or costly things to get to what you want, but that's the trade-off. You're getting the convenience of being able to sell your house first. So anyways, I digress. So, Bill, hey Bill, what things look like around Lansdowne Middle School, rentals and purchases? Well, there's a Lansdowne. So Lansdowne Meadows house just hit the market today for $490, flipped, a renovated house. That's pretty, I can't believe it. That was one of the neighborhoods that I was like, man, if you get a house in the low 400s in Lansdowne Meadows, you're doing really good. Now it's like, that's pushing it. But I think 450, 460, that's one of those that was under low fours that you could sneak in there. And now it's pushing it. I love Lansdowne for the convenience of shopping. But yeah, it's pretty competitive in Lansdowne. Rentals, I guess, same thing. I mean, you're in a school district that's pretty in demand. So, I'm thinking 4-bedroom house, you're probably talking, oh man, off the cuff, you're probably talking 27, 2,800. You can fact check me, I guess, and say, oh no, it's 26. I don't know. It's somewhere in there, I think. But it's an in-demand spot. I do like Lansdowne Meadows. I wanted to mention that neighborhood because that's funny you mentioned that, because I just saw a house pop up in there just today for again $490. But anyway, hi Sam. Hey Isaiah. Good talking to you again. Any thoughts on Park Place for rental investment property? Didn't we talk about Park Place before? Yeah. If it's a buy and hold, I do see the positive trajectory for Park Place. If you are going to rent and might get frustrated in a year because you don't like the landlord situation, then it's fine. Again, as the neighborhoods increase, the values are it's going to be hard to find a place that doesn't increase in value in general. But I'd be more specific on where in there, because you'll find spots in there that have a strip of new construction, or, uh, one street will look way newer than another one. For example, as you get closer down to the south part of it, you'll be closer to all the restaurants, which is a nice little feature. But each street has its own vibe to it, and so I just be wary of how aggressive to be for a specific house, just because of what street you might be on and how you might like being near more newer houses or not. A lot of houses are getting renovated in there. I do like it for value because you can find the niche little nooks that are great. Like, that's what it is. Like, Colonial Place right above you is a lot more expensive. And you've got Ghent down the south and southwestern side down there. That's going to be way more expensive. Park Place is right in there. That, it's developing. It's just taking forever. I mean, this conversation, I could almost have rewound 20 years ago and had the same conversation back when I didn't know anything about real estate or just got into the business, and I was working with a builder back in 2006, 2007, 2008. New construction, in those neighborhoods were going for like 200, 199, 219, 2, and it was up and coming then, and it's still up and coming, I guess, but it's just, things take time. So don't expect a total, like, every house will be new in 40 seconds kind of a thing. But I like, hey, value, there's value there. There is value there. So anyway, man, my voice is going strong. If you got it, just bring it. You got any more questions? If not, it's okay. But I know it's getting kind of late. It's 9:51. I forgot it's 50 minutes of time, but I started at 9. So the double-digit times are here among us. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll drop my email, phone, and website here again. 577-8764, and then all my, how do you spell it, email and website stuff there. And I just say, it's easy for me to set some up on a search, but at the same time, if you're like uncomfortable with that for any reason, to talk to someone to do that kind of a thing, or a house search, my thing is, look at Redfin. Please don't look at, I guess, I don't know if I should be, no one's promoting, no one's paying me to say this, but of all the national sites that I like the most, Redfin is the one I like the most, because it tells you when a house gets listed faster than I think of any others to me. And also you'll know when it goes under contract. I'd say faster than anywhere else too. I think it pulls from the MLS faster than any other national site, in my opinion. And so if you're looking at Zillow, if you're looking at realtor.com, looking at maybe homes.com, I'm not sure about homes.com right now, but a lot of those national ones, just look. And if you're like, hey man, the market's not is moving as fast as you're saying, Sam, just superimpose, take that address that you're looking at and move it to Redfin and see if it says contingent or pending or something under contract, because it might say that. And you're like, oh, it's been under contract for maybe a week or two and it just never told you. So anyway, I think I'm done. Anybody else got questions? 1098-765-4321. Okay, cool. Well, guys, you're awesome. Love talking to everybody. And if you guys are relocating to the area, I love to help you. This is what I do. I love it. If you haven't been able to tell, I love the area so much. REIN. Yes. REIN, Real Estate Information Network. Yeah, that's the local MLS is what I'm saying. So Redfin pulls data from it pretty efficiently, but we have access to REIN. So if you want, we meaning agents. So if you want to get set up with a search, I can do that, or agents can do that. It's not some proprietary thing that one of us does that other people don't. But so but I can do that. Or again, Redfin is really great, and I'm not one to hey, it is what it is. I like Redfin for that specific purpose. But if you're going to relocate here, let me know. If you can, let me know as soon as you can, because I want to be able to plan your trip for whether it be first or multiple trips, help you do that, because the reconnaissance part is important to me. And even if you don't have time for a reconnaissance trip, I want to be able to maximize the windows of time during the window that you'll be here. Those individual pieces of your trip, I think, are important to kind of get specific things done early and middle, middle early, so that the middle to end of your trip will feel the most efficient and feel like you accomplished the most and you're getting the most done. And even if you can find the right house while you're here. So let me know as early as you can that you're coming, and we can plan the moving process as well. So that's it for tonight. And I am so happy to talk to you guys, and have an awesome end of your April 2nd, and have an excellent April 3rd. And I will see you on April 9th for our next video, which will kind of thrust us into the almost the middle of April, and May is coming fast, my birthday month. So anyway, thanks a lot, and I will see you on the next video.